All right, so while the video clip noted the CCC, just kind of like roughly explain what it was, but it didn't introduce the AAA to you, and the video clip didn't explain how some of the New Deal programs could be discriminatory. Because again, the New Deal isn't about, it creates all these reforms, but it's about recovery. It's not about reform, even though it, like, kind of tangentially by default creates lots of reforms. For instance, one of the film's notes that it allows for, you're going to see this film clip next, I think. It allows for workers to go on strike, right? That's a great reform because before, if workers tried to go on strike, they lose their job. And now they're able to do that because of the New Deal. But in other ways, the New Deal was discriminatory. So the CCC is an example of this. You might have noticed in the clip when it talked about the CCC and it showed all those images, it was only white men. The CCC primarily employed white people, and it primarily employed men. And these were good jobs. And so there's a whole lot of people that are pushed out of those good jobs. The AAA, some people of color refer to the AAA as the NRA, the Negro Removal Act. Because what the AAA did is the AAA paid, because there's so much surplus for food and so much surplus in crops. And so what they need to do is they need to decrease the surplus to increase the demand, and then that will, this is capitalism, right? So what the AAA did is it paid farmers not to farm. And that way, if the farmers didn't farm, they would decrease the supply, which would increase the demand, and they would make money. But think about sharecropping in the South. Remember, blacks don't own land, right? They are farming. They're in this cycle of debt. If they hadn't escaped with the Great Migration, they're in this cycle of debt, and they're farming pieces of land that they don't own. So what the white farmer could do then is he could push black people off the land, and then the white farmer could say, oh yeah, I'm not farming that land, and would get paid for it, and then meanwhile farm the other parts of his land and also get paid for that. And so in this way, the AAA was discriminatory towards people of color. And again, it's a good example of how some of these programs, even though the New Deal as a whole completely transforms the government, and people of color from this point forward primarily will vote the Democrat ticket as opposed to the Republican ticket, right? They'll vote for Roosevelt as a Democrat, whereas before they voted with the Republican Party because of Lincoln. But that's which will happen now under Roosevelt, in spite of some of these discriminatory policies. Again, it's really Eleanor who is the key advocate for civil rights, and there are huge changes that happen. Again, you're going to see a clip on Executive Order 8802 that created change in terms of, it's really like the first civil rights, it is the first civil rights legislation since the Reconstruction era. So in this way, it's a mixed legacy, I think is maybe the best way to kind of think about it. Okay, if you have any questions, you can put those in the discussion board. Take care.